Here's how I made ruined tiles. There's been an influx of back-to-basic crafting videos lately, and they really inspired me to finally take the leap, get a Proxon table, and give it a go. Specifically videos from BlackMagicCraft, Howl, and Wyloch's Armory made an impact. This is basically going to be me following BlackMagicCraft's tutorial, so if you see me doing stuff he did, it's because I am. First, I assembled the Proxon table. It was actually way more confusing than I expected, and I used RailDig's tutorial on how to set it up. Also, I ended up with this random loose bolt, so we shall see. I practiced a little by making tiny bricks to get used to the table. Also, I was really curious on how hot the hot wire was, so I was fighting the urge to touch the hot wire the whole time.
Don't touch.
Make sure to wear a respirator when using the table. Breathing in the melted foam vapor is not a good idea. The plan is to make 3-inch by 3-inch tiles with a 1-inch grid on them. I bought these 3-inch by 3-inch wooden squares to glue the individual stones onto. I took some 1-inch thick XPS foam and started making the stones that will make up the tiles. To do that, I first prepared the XPS foam by cutting it into manageable square-edged blocks. I wanted to make sure all future cuts were lined up straight and consistent. Then I cut that square into 1-inch strips or columns. After that, I set the table's guide to 10 mm and sliced out the individual stones. I put a box behind the table to catch the stones as I cut. Once I had what seemed like more than enough foam stones, I moved on to texture them and round their edges. To do that, I took some sharp rocks, put the real stones and foam stones in a cookie tin, and then shook the living bejeebus out of it. This is one of those low-effort, high-reward steps. And the hardest part of it is eating all the cookies first. You don't really have to eat cookies. I moved all the new foam stones into a storage bin cookie tin. I think they look really good and rocky as they are, but to further sell the illusion of realism, I took another rock and pressed it into some of the foam stones where I thought they needed some roughing up. On some of the stones where the edges were too foamy and unrealistic looking, I ripped off chunks of the edges to make them heavily damaged stones. I almost wish I did this to more of the stones. A little ripped corner here or there looks really cool in the end. From there, it was time to glue the foam stones onto the wooden squares. In order to find the center, I took a ruler and made an X by drawing a line from corner to corner. The fact that these squares have rounded corners made this step less accurate than it probably should be, but with that said, I don't mind having rounded corners since it hides the wooden base a little bit better. But you could definitely just cut off the corners or get a slightly smaller square base if your wooden squares have sharp corners that you can see, ruining the illusion. At this point, I hot glued the stones onto the wooden base, starting from the middle and working out. Make sure to use a low temperature hot glue gun for this, because high temperature will melt the foam. This glue gun was about $2 from the craft store near me. I initially made 12 3x3 tiles, but ended up making another batch for 24 tiles in total. It's better to make more than you think you'll need. Then it was time to paint. Instead of Mod Podging and then spray painting, I decided to airbrush them. I used Pro Acryl Neutral Gray Primer. I've had clogging issues with primers before, and this stuff never clogs. Highly recommend. You'll want to use an airbrush needle and nozzle that is big for this. I used a 0.4mm nozzle, so the coverage was sufficient. I'm torn between airbrush priming and doing the classic mixing black paint into Mod Podge for priming in the future, because it felt like I was flying through the airbrush primer. If I end up making ruined walls, I'll try the alternative method. Also, I ended up putting on goggles like a big dingus because airbrushing this much was starting to irritate my Augen. I then zenithal highlighted with white ink at a near horizontal angle to only catch the raised edges. I want these tiles to fit into a jungle scene, so I colored them using some red, brown, and green inks. I try to be random with this. Finally, I dry brushed off-white onto the tiles to pick out the highest edges and to give them a stony appearance. That's it. The whole painting process didn't take long at all, and I think it gave a great look. Thanks for watching! If you enjoyed, feel free to like and subscribe. Consider checking out my Buy Me a Coffee if you're trying to support the cause. Leave any feedback or suggestions in the comments below. Alright, bye-bye!